remember where your audience is at too, because you have a different target customer to the next person. So you've got to ask yourself, how do I communicate effectively with them? How do I generate leads to attract more of those people to my business specifically right now? Well, hello there, and welcome to the Direct Selling Accelerator podcast. I'm your host, Sam Hind, and I'm here to provide you with social media tips, tricks, and advice to grow your amazing business using the platforms that you have at your disposal. Now, remember though that when it comes to social media, there's two core fundamental things you've got to remember. The first one is that the tools are designed to be tools to enhance you. We should never use social media to replace us, and they definitely shouldn't replace the human element. The second thing, and this is something that I learned really early on in my business when I started consulting and running social media for other people, is your social media, i.e., your brand, is far too important to outsource. It can't be outsourced successfully because you cannot possibly have somebody else represent you and who you are. So remember that social media is about generating leads, it's about making connections, and it's about growing your business through doing those two things effectively. When we're not genuinely being ourselves, sharing our passion, sharing what we do in our business and why we do it, we're not going to attract the right people, and we're going to be wasting our precious time. So slow and steady definitely wins the race. But today I want to talk to you a little bit about the 3 different ways you can show up on Facebook specifically. Now, we do throughout this podcast talk a little about other platforms as well. But in this episode, I want to really hone in on profiles, pages, and groups. Because in my experience with the thousands of people that we train inside of our membership and our courses, we get the same set of questions over and over again. And they generally revolve around, should I use a profile? Should I have a page? Or should I use a group? And when are the 3 of these things going to help me grow my business? And of course, how should I use them? So I want to really quickly touch on this today, and I want to give you a little bit of a summary around these 3 core things so that you have a better understanding and idea of how they can best be used and which one will make the most sense for you with where you're at. So let's dive in and talk about profiles, pages, and groups. Okay, to start off with, I want to remind you of something, and that is that your journey is your journey and no one else's. So where you're at right now will be different to the next person. So as you're listening to this episode, I'd like to really encourage you to think about where you're at, where you're going with your business, and what makes the most sense for you right now. Because I see a lot of people trying to master all 3 of these things and more. They're doing profiles, pages, groups, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn. They've got it all happening, and they are literally spreading themselves too thin. They create massive overwhelm. And of course, when you try to be a master of everything, you're a master of nothing. So my advice to you right now is ask yourself, what's my lowest hanging fruit? What's the most obvious opportunity for me right now to grow my business, and where am I going to hone that energy? So, as I go into each of these 3 things, I want to remind you that just because somebody else has a business page or is focusing on a group doesn't necessarily mean that's the right journey for you right now. Maybe down the track, but I want you to really think about what makes the most sense for you. Also, remember where your audience is at too, because you have a different target customer to the next person. So, you've got to ask yourself, how do I communicate effectively with them? How do I generate leads to attract more of those people to my business specifically right now? So let's start off by talking about the 3 as a summary. And I want to use the 3 C's here to help you better understand the purpose of profiles, pages, and groups. So let's start with profiles. Profiles are a place for you to create personality and connection. So I want to really, really hone in on connection here, because that's what personal profiles are really all about. They're about being you and being relatable. So when you set up Facebook, you have to set up a personal profile. We all have to have one. You cannot have a business page or a group without one. But here's the key thing. People use personal profiles in very different ways, and not all of them are good. Ask yourself why you accept a friend request from somebody else, or why you ask to be friends with somebody else. Generally speaking, the way we want to behave should also the way we behave should also really consider the way that we expect our audience to behave, but often it doesn't. What I'm trying to say in my very roundabout way here is, I think sometimes we have very different expectations of our audience to the way that we interact on social media. For example, we show up and we sell actively on our personal profile, and we promote our products, we promote our business. But when we see other people do that, it doesn't make us want to lean in, yet that's how we're behaving. Another of the behaviors I see happen a lot is people go, oh my goodness, no one likes my stuff. They're not commenting on my posts. And you've got to stop and ask yourself this. Well, do I comment on every post that I like? Do I interact with every post that gets my attention? Not these days, not anymore, because the way we behave on social media has really changed. So just stop and pay attention. I find it very fascinating to pay attention sometimes to my own behaviors as well as that of my audience. And then ask myself, if I were to put myself in their shoes, how would I be behaving? What would I want to see? So the reason I bring this up is your personal profile is a place to connect, to build relationships, to be real and relatable. So I'm going to use connection here as the C word for personal profiles. Now, just a little disclaimer here for a second. I know some of you might have a professional mode turned on, which is where you've opened up your personal profile to be publicly viewable. Now, this is a completely different can of worms. I'm not going to open that can today because I don't want to confuse matters too much. The type of personal profile I really want to speak into at the moment, and for the purpose of this episode, is a personal profile that is private, and only friends and family can see your content. So keeping in mind, if you do have professional mode set up, and you do have a personal profile open publicly, it shouldn't change the type of content you create. It is still personal content. It is still about connection. So I just want to clarify that. But personal profiles, you got to remember, when someone has accepted your friend request, or when you've friend requested them, their friend requested. Either way, if you are friends with someone on Facebook, they have committed to be your friend on Facebook because they care about you, not because they want a business rammed down their throat. So this is what I mean by treat people the way you want to be treated. If you had accepted a friend request from somebody, you're not going to want their business rammed down your throat either, so don't do it to other people. So personal profile is connection. Does this mean that we can't sell? Absolutely not. Let me be clear about this. Your personal profile is probably one of the most powerful ways that you can promote your product, your service, your business opportunity. But it will be done through real, relatable content where you share your journey, your passion, your experience. And of course, through doing that, through not actively selling, you will build so much curiosity and intrigue. I'll give you an example of somebody who I've got to know in the industry. She's a top leader in the company that she's with. She's been doing some amazing things. I've been watching her over the years, and she nails the content on her personal profile every single time. Why? Because she doesn't tell you everything. So let me give you an example. This particular person in the company that she's with had a collagen product, and she went on a bit of a health journey. So along the way on her personal profile, she would share her health journey. She'd take you out for a walk with her. She'd share a photograph of, she was really open about sharing all of this. So she would share things like, how much weight she lost last week, or how she was feeling, or the new top she was able to buy because she could fit into it. She also shared the lows as well. And I think this is very important because that's what really makes it real and relatable. So when she was struggling and she messed up and she ate the piece of chocolate cake, she'd share that because that made her human. But here's where she nailed it. She would be really great at just talking to people like a human being, as we would if we were having a coffee or a catch up with another friend. She literally would turn her camera on in the mornings. She probably did this 2 or 3 mornings a week. And as she was taking, she had a couple of supplements she took and a collagen that she took with a spoon. As she took it each day, she would literally do a video where she'd go, "Hey, I want to share with you a funny story about something that happened yesterday." Now, as she's sharing the funny story that had nothing to do with the products she was taking, had nothing to do with the business, she'd have the bottle of collagen sitting on the bench next to her, but turned around so you couldn't see the name of the product. She would literally pour her spoon out. She'd say, "I'm just doing my morning routine here, part of the program that I'm on. I'm so excited. I'm feeling so great." And then she would keep talking about her funny story from yesterday as she poured the collagen onto a spoon and she took her collagen. Now, here's the key to this. The post itself left more questions than answers, and there are so many ways you could do this. But it left a lot of people asking the question, what's the product that you're taking? Now, instead of answering in the comments like an average person might, she instead would say, "Hey, I'm going to flick you a quick message." So what happened was, even me, I was looking at the post going, what is this product? I'm really curious what she's taking, because she never talked about the name of the company. She never talked about the product names. And that's a personal choice. That's up to you how you want to do it. I'm not dictating how you do. I just want to open your mind up to the fact that less can often be more. I think we get caught up in this whole, I need to tell everyone everything there is to know about my products and my business opportunity and everything there is to know in order for them to make a decision. And that couldn't be further from the truth. Because what I noticed this person had was every time she did one of these videos, comment after comment after comment, and they just grew. She got more and more of them because people wanted to know what she was doing. They're like, "Hey, can you tell me a bit about your program? Do you think this program could be a good fit for me? Hey, can I send you a message? I want to know a little bit more about what you're taking." And so she would reach out to people privately so that if anyone else like me was reading or watching this post and I was like, "Oh, I'm curious," I just simply couldn't click on the comments and find the information out I wanted. I had no choice but to connect with her directly. And that is the key to this industry. It is about the connection. It is about the interaction directly with you, not the product, not the business. People are buying from you because they believe in you, because they trust you, because they like you. So remember that that personal interaction is the most important thing, which is why your profile is so important and sharing your journey matters so much. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about pages now, a business page. We talked about profile, which is about connection. Your business page is about credibility, promotion and credibility. So a business page is the place to do business. So if you want to talk about a product specifically or a business opportunity, while I don't encourage you to do it often because I still think that adding value is much more important than selling, it is the place that you can do that and do it safely, because people follow a business page knowing it's a business, right? So think about expectation a little bit. So profile is about connection. Business page is about credibility. It's about sharing your passion and building your brand. Now, before you go setting up a business page, or maybe you've already set one up and you really need to rethink it, I want to remind you of something key here. You've got to get clear on what your brand is. Now, a lot of people think that they need to lead, particularly in the direct selling industry, with the product that they sell. But remember, your product is a tool. It is not your brand. You are probably your brand. But a lot of you feel afraid to show up as your brand because you think no one wants to hear from me. No one cares about me and my story. They care about the product. Well, the truth is, until they care about you, they won't care about that product. They could buy a collagen product or a moisturizer or an essential oil from loads of different places. Why would they come to you? They come to you because they trust you, they feel connected to you. And that's where using your business page to build your brand and create some credibility around that brand is so important. The other thing I love about business pages is, unlike a personal profile that is a standard profile, remember we talked about the two different ones. I want to refer to the standard one right now that can only be seen when you're friends with each other on Facebook. The difference between a business page and that type of profile is A business page is publicly viewable. It's a little bit like a website. Anyone can go there and see your content, so there's less barrier involved. This means that Facebook, number one, will be pushing your post from your business page out to more people to try and help you grow your following. But imagine somebody references or refers you to them. So maybe, Rachel walks into my house and she goes, "Oh, what is that amazing essential oil that I can smell in your diffuser right now?" And I say, "Oh, well, it's one of my favorites. It's called Believe." And she says, "Where can I get it from?" And I tell her where she can buy it from. I say, "You can go to XYZ person who is the consultant I bought it from." Now, if that person only has a personal profile, Rachel now, in order for her to see that person's content, needs to friend request them. Or if they only have a group, she needs to join the group to find out any information about what they do. Now, Rachel has been referred to that person through me. So that establishes a bit of credibility here. That's step number one, and that's really important. But the problem with this lies when you don't have an easy way for new leads to find you and get comfortable with you. And a business page is a great place to do that because anyone can see your content, get a feel for what you do, and when they're ready, they can reach out. Remember this. Statistics show us that people do not buy on the first contact or the second or the third or the fifth. Averages show us that people buy on the 8th to the 12th contact. Now, by contact, I don't mean the 8th to the 12th time that you hound or hassle them. It's the 8th to the 12th time that they're exposed to you and your brand. That might be that I mentioned it to Rachel. That's one exposure. She heard your name somewhere. It might be that she sees a post on Facebook. It might be that she sees a post on Instagram. It might be that she hears someone else talk about you. It may be that she hears a product mentioned within your range and she remembers you because she's heard those other mentions. So remembering that exposure is really important, which is why one of the key things you want to think about when you start building your brand is, how am I strategically placing myself in the path of my dream customer? Where do they show up? Where do they hang out? What do they care about? And how am I showing up in their path? Rather than just rocking up on Facebook and assuming everyone will just find you by default because you happen to be there. And this is an assumption I think a lot of people make. It's not real. It's not going to work that way. So just stop and go, how can I show up in their path? Rather than how can I just assume they're going to find me? And if they don't, there's something wrong with Facebook, right? So think about different ways that you can be showing up in their path, and a business page can be a really brilliant place to do that. The other reason I love business pages is because they give us something that profiles don't give us, and that is insights. Insights are incredibly valuable. They're a really great tool that show you what is and isn't working for you so you can start to make better decisions about what content you'll continue to post. So rather than doing something I call throwing spaghetti at the wall and waiting to see what sticks, you can be much more strategic and really use your time wisely. Okay, let's talk about the third part to this because this is a power podcast episode. So we want to whip through and talk now about groups. So we've had profiles, which is connection. We've had pages, which is credibility. And now we're going to talk about groups, which is community and conversation. Groups are a brilliant place to do one of several things. Groups can be set up for multiple different reasons, and you can have as many groups as you like or as few as you like. You could have just one, but it's about what works for you. So the types of groups I typically see most often in this industry are the following: a team group, so a group where you communicate and connect with your team, although that has started to shift a little bit more into other tools like Messenger, etc. over recent years, but it is definitely one of the types of groups you could have to educate, inspire, and connect with your team. The second type is a nurture group. So this might look like a VIP customer group. This might look like a place that you put people that you're already connected with, leads and customers, etc., into so that you can create a community of like-minded people that you're going to continue to nurture. These are the people you already have connection with. The third type of group is much more about lead generation, and this is a special interest group. This is where you might create a group that is around a topic of interest, an area that you know your dream customer values, and that may not be directly associated with your product or your business. Often it's not. But identifying something they care about and creating a community that attracts more leads, more people that are interested in that topic. That can be a brilliant place to create, first of all, credibility for you, because you can post about what you know and share great value in there, but also a great place to create community, even third-party validation, and of course, to create new connections with new leads. There are lots of rules around doing that type of group well. You want to make sure that you set your expectations right, that you provide massive value, and you don't hound and hassle people, because you don't want to leave people going, oh my gosh, all they did was join the group and now she's on my case. Rather, what you want people to do is go, wow, the value in there is so great. I just want to keep coming back. So, profiles, pages, and groups, all very powerful, all for different reasons and in different ways. But the question for you today is, which one makes the most sense to you right now? Do you need a place to build community, to nurture maybe your existing audience, or to start generating more leads? Maybe what you need is a barrier-free place to reach new people using a business page and being able to really start to build your brand and some credibility around it. Or perhaps it is simply sticking with that personal profile and really nailing the sharing of your journey, building the relationships and creating clever curiosity and intrigue that has your ideal customers coming to you. Whatever it is, there's no right, there's no wrong. All three are very powerful. You may choose to do all three, or maybe right now you're going to stick with my advice and you're going to really hone in on the one that makes the most sense to you right now and become a master of something. So that's it from me today in this episode. If you found this really helpful, I encourage you, please share this with a friend in the industry, maybe someone else in your team. This is a free resource that we provide so that we can help have as much impact on as many people as we can globally. We want to help grow the direct selling industry, an incredible industry that changes lives. So thank you for tuning in today and listening to this episode. I really appreciate your ears and your support, but please help us spread the word. Share this with someone today, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any upcoming episodes. Last but not least, I also want to remind you we have our own free Facebook community called Social Media for Direct Sellers with Greg and Sam. This is a place where we share updates, social media tips and tricks, and of course, you can get access to any free trainings, webinars, or challenges that we run within our community. We'd love to welcome you on in there. But that's it from me today. Thanks again for tuning in. Bye for now. Thank you for joining us in this episode of the Direct Selling Accelerator podcast. If you love listening and you found that this was helpful for your direct selling business, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also check out the recommended video that's popped up on your screen right here. I look forward to seeing you again next time. Bye for now.